So as we all know, one significant part of the college application is what we call the college application essay, or as it's more commonly known, a personal statement. So the first thing we wanted to go through is what a personal statement is not. So it's not an academic paper in the sense that the tone of the paper is not meant to be academic, overly formal, using a lot of technical language. It's also not meant to be a second version of your resume or CV, and we'll go over this in a bit more detail later. It's also not a journal entry, meaning that it shouldn't be so informal or casual that it feels as if you're reading someone's diary of the day. Last but not least, is not a plea. You should not be begging the college to admit you. That is never going to translate well within your personal statement. And what to avoid. So the first one is don't overgeneralize. The admissions board does not need an applicant's life story. So what we mean by this is your essay should not be an entire summation of your entire life from age 5 to age 18. It's too general. It's not focused. And college essays all have a limited word count. You will not be able to give your entire life biography. In fact, if essay like the one I included here is overly general, it gives the impression that the student or the applicant doesn't know where their priorities are. They don't know how to focus. Don't overshare or engage in controversial topics. So one is the first one, I think the latter part is simple, right? Don't write on controversial topics that might offend your reader. I think we should all be aware of what those are. Even if an applicant feels like, oh, it's not controversial, your essay should still not be a one-sided lecture trying to convince your reader of, I don't know, a specific stance on a topic, because it's not a persuasive essay. You do not want to come off as preachy, and no admissions officer reader wants to feel like they're being lectured by a high schooler. It is not going to come off the right way.
I would just say you definitely want to be remembered, and you just don't want to be remembered the wrong way. Sometimes students have a hard time deciding on what to focus on. And one tip that I usually give my students is a tip from screenwriting. Well, we've all seen these kinds of charts for stories. And I just want you to start thinking about your own life and thinking about stories that can kind of fit into this format. One other way that you can think a format that would help to tell your own story. One way of analyzing popular stories is the goal, lie, truth story.
In your essay, you should not be listing, like I won X AMC award. I got 1580 on the SAT. It should not just be one by one. Oh, this is what I accomplished, because one, they have that information, and two, it may surprise you, but it actually doesn't say much about you as a person other than, okay, maybe this person is smart and hardworking. And that's not enough. If you're applying to top universities, almost all applicants are smart and hardworking. So how are you going to distinguish yourself? You have to talk about other things that you value, other things in your life that make the applicant who they are. Okay, so oftentimes for students, it's very difficult for them to perhaps profile themselves. And I found in working with students, it's really helpful for them to have an experienced second person who can help them, make more sense of the details of their lives and filter out and help them prioritize how to write a college essay. Because sometimes I'll talk to students and they'll tell me a story, and then I'll listen to it, and then I'll offer some feedback. And then the student will say, wow, I never even thought of it that way. Right? I didn't think that this experience was XYZ. So I think it's very helpful sometimes within the application process to get people who are knowledgeable and experienced to take a look at that and to help them really just structure and prioritize and figure out what kind of person they want to present themselves as within the essays themselves. This is, I think, the 7 EDU results from 2022.
How much time do you think a student should count on spending when they are writing their essay?
I think for our current students, we're actually going to have them start writing essays in June. Writing the essay is only 5% of the process, writing that first draft. 95% of it is editing and revision. So I think that essays take a significant amount of time. You definitely do not want to procrastinate your college essays, especially since they are such a significant component of your application itself. So I would say students should aim to start this summer and draft all the way to their EA/RD deadlines. I will also say from personal experience, the students I've had that edited their essays the most, that were very focused on their essays, that were incredibly diligent in revising them, also ended up receiving the best results for their college admissions themselves.
I would say also it's good to go ahead and start on other essays, not just the Common App, because some students will find as they do the other essays, they'll find information that they forgot about that they might want to add back into the Common App, or other perspectives that they discover. So I wouldn't just start with your first deadline, but I would start planning several essays at the very beginning.
Do we also help with letters of continued interest? Yes, we do. We help them draft. We help edit.